Hey y'all, it's me, and today it's Hugh too. Okay, I've been fussing at him, so he may be a little grumpy.
I can't talk, that's the problem.
He can't talk, but I did ask him to come in here and just go down memory lane with me concerning this old kitchen. Hugh's mama redid it about 25 years ago, wasn't it? Maybe a little longer.
It's been redone 2 or 3 times.
Well, I
but
meant
yeah,
since
this time, yeah.
Don't step on Nala.
I see her.
There's Nala. She's in here with us. Okay. When Hugh and I got married, where the refrigerator is right now was an old wood cook stove.
Yeah. The refrigerator was in the dining room.
Okay, the refrigerator was in the dining room. I don't remember that, but...
And we had a cast iron, one of them old farm sinks right here. And we had a Hoosier like that sit right here.
I'll show you that room later, because right now it's a mess from where I was cleaning up.
It don't matter, you can
the
show
art
them the
room.
Hoosier.
Okay, I'll show them the Hoosier. Hugh actually built this Hoosier. We look like drug addicts because we've got Aaron's bottle sitting here from when he had tooth surgery last week.
But I always wanted a Hoosier. Mom and Daddy got rid of it. So I decided one day, well, I always wanted one, and I was going to build one out of wormy chestnut. So we found this table off of a Hoosier in a junk store and bought it, and I built a wormy chestnut Hoosier. But this is just
Storage.
it's just storage. It don't have the
It doesn't
have the
Hoosier guts.
no, the Hoosier guts. But this one does have a cutting board. I put a cutting board in it. That Patty don't never use, but that's okay.
No, I
It's her, she needs it.
And there's my old cookie man.
And this is my grandmother Brown's cookie jar. So I don't know how old they are, but it's just part of the family.
But you finished that piece about 4 years ago, I guess 5 years ago maybe.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Okay, let's go out of this dirty room. The kitchen is fairly clean. I worked in it a little while today. Except for the snoz on the door, the dog snoz. That's an unending journey.
But there was a threshing table, what they call a threshing table, big lazy Susan in the dining room, and it would seat 14 people.
It took up the whole dining room.
It took up the whole
really
dining room. If you scooted it out to where people could sit behind it, you barely could walk around it. On that side, it was huge. And then the kitchen table sat right here. And that's all that was in this kitchen, was that and an old cast iron sink and a wood cook stove. And the refrigerator was in the dining room. That's all we had in here for cabinets.
And that door, the glass door right there, actually went outside. That room wasn't there.
Yeah, the other room was built on after Daddy passed because we didn't want Mama going up and down the basement steps to the laundry because the laundry was in the basement.
And those basement steps are like a ladder.
They are.
They are
They're steep.
seriously steep.
They are.
Okay, and this door right here, or this opening right here, actually had a door in it. And when Hugh and I first got married, Hugh's mother was still canning on the old wood cook stove. And I will tell you that my first experience canning, because my mother wasn't really that into canning. I grew up in town. But my first experience canning was when I was, well, the first couple of years, and I was pregnant with Aaron. We had only been married about 16 months, I think. And that July, we were canning on a wood cook stove. That was a miserably hot year.
Yeah,
in addition to everything.
And then in November we butchered a pig and canned a pig in here.
Yeah.
But it still was miserable hot.
Yeah. That's good memories though. Good memories. So when we do canning videos, guys and girls, I'll probably have to get Hugh in here to help me remember, because every year I called his mother to ask her to remind me how much pressure and how long for everything.
But
And
to my advantage, I have a ball
Blue book.
Ball blue book, big book of canning.
I hate looking
Everybody
at it.
needs one of those.
I hate looking, especially when you can call Yaya or you can call Grandma. And so I just always called Grandma and asked her, and that is one thing I missed about her the last couple of years. Is not she passed in 2021, and I missed having her to ask questions. So anyway, today we're going to make bread, and I'm gonna scoot Hugh on out of here.
I'm going.
I told him, I said it's embarrassing having somebody in the other room listening, and I don't know why it's embarrassing to know that he's sitting in there listening when I'll have all y'all listening to me in a day or two. That doesn't seem to bother me for some reason. But anyway, he's going to go in there and put in his little earphones and watch something on his iPad. I told him he couldn't put in Westerns yet. No Westerns today. Not right now. All right. Well, I guess I should explain to you what we're doing. I had told some of y'all we're going to bake bread. And this is my favorite bread recipe simply because it's simple. It has been very, very consistent, and there's very little time involved other than, maybe 15-20 minutes of getting it in the microwave, which is my proofing box. And then, you let it rise for an hour. You punch it down, you roll it, you put it in your pans, you let it rise for another hour. You put it in the oven and it bakes for 40 minutes. So the most important thing that I can encourage you to do if you have a memory like mine is that you stay in the house and you set timers. I have to set timers to remind me that there's something going on I need to attend to. And yes, my family makes fun of me for that, but it is what it is. All right, so let's get started. I'm just going to set you up over here and explain what I'm doing as we go. And I've got a lot of it actually even started. I went ahead and pre-buttered my 2 pans. This recipe makes 2 medium loaves, and I pre-buttered my bowl that my first batch of dough will be going in, or the batch of dough will be going in. And out here you can see that's the lid for the bowl. And then these 4 mason jars I'll be filling with hot water, and they will go around the outside edge of the microwave, and that becomes my proofing box. And then I've got all my supplies sitting out over here. So now when we get our Facebook page, and we are working on that, when we get our Facebook page up and running, that's one of the first things that I will do is put the recipe on the Facebook. So, and that's one of the things I'm looking forward to. We can share things like that, guys, on Facebook. Those of you that don't have Facebook and don't want to have Facebook, we'll work it out. We'll figure it out, okay? All right. The first thing we're going to do is measure our flour. And the only reason I'm going to show you this is because some of you that might be bread makers for the first time, if we have some of the younger crowd on here, it's important that you know that you don't want to pack your flour. And I think that's something that's a common mistake. Let me see if I got that where everybody can see. And baking is a little bit more of an exact science than cooking. You can't get by with the mistakes in baking or with the sloppy measurement. So I use a big spoon and I just lift the flour into my measuring cup. And then I tap it down with a little case knife. And then I use the side of the case knife and rake it off. All right, we need 4 1/3 cups. And I started to have absolutely everything measured out, and then I decided that maybe I should walk through this just a little bit. So I'll try not make it too boring. I love watching some cooking channels, and some cooking channels are just fine to be obnoxious because they just show you every little detail as though somehow, your brain doesn't work. Sometimes my brain doesn't work, though. Maybe that's a good thing. All right, 1 more of the cup. But because most of us are the older crowd, I'm assuming that most everybody has done some baking in their lives. So I'm not going to try to be too ridiculous with this. Where's my, here it is. And then my 1/3 cup of flour. All right. I'm gonna set that back there because I'll need it in a minute. All right. One thing that I need to get started is my yeast. And this is another thing that I decided to show because some of you that, maybe some of the younger crowd that has never baked might not understand this part of it. When you're proofing yeast, or when you're using yeast, you want your water to be warm but not hot. If it's not warm enough, it will not activate your yeast, and if it's too warm, it will kill your yeast. Sounds gruesome, doesn't it? All right, I'm using just an old-fashioned thermometer, and what we want is for our thermometer to get us to about between 100 and 110. If it goes too much above 110, then I'm going to let it cool a minute, because it, like I said, it will kill the yeast. All right. Looks like we're right at 110. So that's good. And also keep in mind that your when you put your honey in, that's going to cool it down just a little bit. And now I have pre-measured the 3 tablespoons of honey that this recipe calls for. And I'm just going to pour about a tablespoon of it in my water here. Now, and here I am holding the camera, and I have no fingers to use. That doesn't work out so well. All right. Yes, my hands are clean, girls. All right. Now I'm going to take my little knife I used earlier and just stir that up. And that will have cooled it down just a little bit, but not too very much. And I pre-measure my yeast so that I don't have to stop it and I can keep stirring. Now this recipe calls for 2 1/4 tablespoons. No, excuse me, 2 1/4 teaspoons. I don't know where that came from. There's 2. Okay. Let me see if I can put you down here. Now, I like to kind of get the water swirling a little bit, and then slowly pour the yeast in. Melt that yeast down just a little bit. Alright, we're just going to set it up here in the microwave and close the microwave and let it have about 10 minutes. I'll do this so I won't forget that I'm baking bread. Alright, let me take you through my messy dining room. And yes, I've got all my cleaning paraphernalia from yesterday sitting here. Boxes that need to go downstairs. Everything got pushed in here when I was cleaning up my little new studio yesterday. Alright, thought I'd take just a minute and show you this. Girls, this is where we're going to be painting. This is the room that Aiden was using until we moved him down the road and across the across the road, I'll show you the inside of these windows actually got washed yesterday, but the outside's so dirty you can barely see out of them. It was too cold to open the windows yesterday. I think the high was like 28. All right, that little house across the road, that's Chelsea's, and that's where Aiden's at right now until he goes to Yellowstone. But anyway, so of course the shop vac doesn't belong in here. Aaron's using it in a project in his room. But I'll have my little easel set up, and I've got 2 little cabinets to store all my art supplies. And I've got a wonderful view from both windows. You can see why I wanted this room as my art room. We've always called it the sunroom. It used to be a porch. And Hugh's mother, when she had this house kind of redone after Hugh's daddy passed 28 years ago, I'm not sure now. In 1995 is when he passed, so it'll be 28 years this year. She had this porch closed in, and it is the sun porch, the sunroom. I'm looking out on my chicken lot, my dogs. This is their lot. Over there is Aaron's doggy lot. All along through there. We have to keep them separate. His doggies are younger and more rambunctious. And my doggies are old and less rambunctious. We've got to get some wood chips in these lots though, so that and Aaron's going to increase the size of his considerably, simply because he has, like I said, he has younger ones that need just more room to run and romp. Mine just kind of go outside to go to the restroom, and then they're ready to come back in. So I've got my chairs in here, my old rockers, and this is probably where we'll also be having our live on Tuesdays. I'm going to make Pops join me for most of those. He doesn't know that yet, but he needs to part of the time anyway. All right, over there I've got my paints out, or my paint brushes out, and I'll be putting all my painting paraphernalia in that cabinet. But I'm looking forward to this, just to painting again. And girls, I may be learning right along with you this time, because it's been 6 years since I really painted. I've dabbled a little bit, could never really get my mind wrapped around it, so it's been a while, and I may have to relearn as we paint together. So don't get your expectations up too high. All right, let's go back in here and see how the yeast is doing. Oh, and by the way, let me see if I can hold this out far enough. What I have on is my handy dandy new tool apron. Got it from Amazon. I think it was less than $20. But every time I would walk down to feed my geese and my ducks this year, last fall, I had a tarp that I had set up in there. And the wind started shredding it, and it got worse and worse and worse and worse. Let me see. You can see my duck lot down there, my goose lot. And every time I would go down there, I would think, oh, I've got to bring scissors down here so I can snap those pieces of, my mind went blank. But anyway, what I had them held together with, not bungee cords, but menopause sucks. It just does. But anyway, and I never had any scissors with me, and I would forget to take the scissors with me. So when I saw this thing, I thought, I really like the looks of that. And if I had that, I would have scissors with me all the time. And check this out. I've got a pouch where I can put my phone and put some tissue so that I'm not, and I apologize for the sniffling when I was walking in the snow. I didn't realize it was quite as bad as it was until I listened to the video myself today, and I thought, oh no, that was awful. So Anyway, I really, really, really have to remember to keep tissue with me. That's one of my alarms to remind me that it's time to feed my critters. So they can wait for just a few minutes, and we'll continue on with this little video. But I have to keep my video, or my alarms going. All right, let's check on our, it's doing its thing. You can see that it's beginning to rise up. So let's set this up again. Now it won't take but a minute to get us ready to go in the oven, or in the microwave. So I'm going to go ahead and get my proofing, my hot water in my proofing box. Some of y'all may have a proofing box. I do not. I don't even know what it is. I know that it's just some kind of a little machine that you set your bread in to make it hot or keep it warm and help it rise. But this has worked just really, really well for me. I'll carry these over here one at a time. Nala's right under my feet. All of the rest of my critters are laying over there on the floor. Let me go over here and see if you can see any of them. Not sure if you can see them. No. Not through all the shadow that I'm creating. No, I don't think so. But anyway, yeah, they're there. They're just mad at me for not letting them in here. I'll introduce you to all of them as time moves forward. They're goofy, every one of them. And all of my critters are older. I think I probably told you this, like, 5 or 10 times. Bear with me, because I don't remember from day to day what I said yesterday. Do any of y'all have that problem? All right. And I'm looking forward to the live. The live will be on Tuesday. And I'm going to say for this first one, it will be at 4 o'clock. And maybe because of the the time discrepancy, and there's some of y'all in different parts of the world, and I don't want part of y'all not to be able to participate. So I think that the solution I've came up with is maybe 4 o'clock one week and 10 o'clock the next week, and back and forth. And that way everybody can maybe catch some of the lives. And to me, that's important to me. I just want us to be a community, and I think that that's going to be an important way to make that happen. So, all right, let's go back over here to our recipe now. All right, we need to put 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt in with our flour. I know that I am blessed to have a big stand mixer. That mixer was a gift from my mother years and years and years ago, because my mom and I, we did the wedding cakes for my nieces and nephews' weddings. Oh, well, my nieces' weddings, I shouldn't say my nephews' weddings. And so in order to be able to make that happen with those size cakes, especially with the icing, and you have the piping icing and the buttercream icing, we needed a stand mixer. So my mom bought that, and after the first wedding was over, she told me, she said, no, you keep it. You'll use it more than I will. So that was a wonderful blessing from my mother. All right. Okay. There was my little timer telling me that our yeast has activated really long enough, usually about 10 or 15 minutes. And let me see what you're seeing. Yeah, you can see. Okay. Now when I get this started, it can blend for about 10 or 12 minutes. If you're doing it by hand, I apologize. I'm sorry, girls. I have made bread by hand before. It's not something with all the arthritis I have in my hands now. It's not something that I want to do. And let me go ahead and measure everything else out. Okay, we are going to use another quarter cup of warm water. Let me get that. And we're going to use a quarter of a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. And I'm just going to put that in with the rest of my honey. This honey is really, really dark. Look at that. It's not a honey that I think that I would choose to eat, to actually taste, but it's some my daughter had bought for health purposes some years ago, and somehow I ended up with it. So anyway, I use it for cooking. All right, now, and it's 3 tablespoons of melted butter. I think, does that sound, no, 2 tablespoons. I started to say, I don't remember that. It's been only about a week since I've made the bread. I can show you that. This is what I have left. That's the heel. So when you get down that low, it's time to make bread. So now this is everything that goes into it to get her started. Let me just double check, make sure I've got it. I've got my butter, my apple cider vinegar, and my honey. My lukewarm water, and my activated yeast. And there's my flour and salt. All right, let's get it, let's plug it up first. Get it started. Put my water in there, finish getting that. Scraping honey, but it's a necessary evil, as it certainly sticks. Okay, and you can see it's really dry looking down in there. Give it a couple of minutes to see before I add any more water, just to see if it picks it up. Yeah, it's going to. I see it down in there already. It's already picking it up off the bottom. Let's turn it up just a little bit. Thing. I'm going to set my timer again for 10 minutes, and while it does that, I think I will talk to y'all about my flowers. I'm sorry, I really am turning into my mother. Alright, these actually were her orchids except for this one. This one was given to me by one of my daughter's friends. And thank you, Margot. And this little guy was one of my mother's, and it's blooming, nice heavy blooms. You can see that, yes. And you're gonna have to ignore the dust. Remember, we have a gazillion dogs. This one, I think, will be kind of a white and bronze, if I remember. It was a light color, creamy color of just a creamy color with some bronze. I'll show it to you when it's bloomed. And this one has bloomed its little self silly. It has been blooming for several weeks now, and you can see some of its little blooms are ready to just kind of start falling off. And there's my little angel. And we're gonna, pretty soon, we're gonna talk about African violets. I had been really impressed with my African violets. I have several like this, not in this room, but they're extremely dusty, and every now and then I'll pull them down and try to give them a little dusting because you can't get the leaves wet. But this is what I just recently found out. All right, y'all. Yes, I watch YouTube for university myself. I love it. I love learning things, and I love just perusing the channels on YouTube to find the channels that can benefit me. Oh, and by the way, I'll on Tuesday I want to talk to you about a lady that I found. She is a physical therapist. She has a YouTube channel, and I am going to be very excited about her channel. I think it's going to be good for anybody, any age, but especially those of us, in our older years. And she teaches just a lot of information about correct posture, about exercising in such a way that it will benefit you and not hurt you. And I will be making a great deal of use out of her channel, and I want to share that with you. But and also, going back to the African violets, I found out that the reason my African violets have gotten so thick, and the reason they're not really blooming so much anymore, they'll bloom a little bit, is because an African violet plant, it does much better if it only has maybe 15 leaves in the pot. So when an African violet starts getting just ginormous amounts of leaves on it like this, you're actually supposed to start cutting them back. And the cool thing with an African violet is that every leaf you cut off, you can actually propagate it, and you can have lots of African violets to share with everybody in your community. And so anyway, we're gonna do an African violet dissection in just a week or so. I've got to go get some potting soil for African violets, and I'm going to take these guys apart, and I'm going to repot about, I don't know, 50 or 60 African violet plants. I don't know, but anyway, I'll have to just invite family over and say, please come and get African violets. They need a new home. But I'm excited to start seeing the blooms again, because the leaves, and especially on my African violets, because of all the dogs, they don't stay very pretty because they're just dusty. So that also made me excited about trimming them back, because I thought, that way there won't be so many leaves to dust, for one thing, and I won't feel guilty every time I look at them thinking all that stomata is just stopped up with dust. But I can look at them and say, okay, there's just 15 of you. I can do this. And then with, the blooms themselves, you don't have to worry about it so much, because they do their thing, they bloom, and then they fall off. So we're good. That makes me happy. All right. You see how much time we have left? We have about 5 minutes left. Let's see what this guy's doing down in there. It's just kind of swinging around on that. So let's turn it off for a minute and put it down in there a little bit. I see there's some of that dark honey that's not really blended in so good yet. So let's give it an opportunity to have that happen. I think I had it on too high maybe. We just want it to knead a little bit. That's what you need to be doing, dude. Hey. I'm like that person that in the meme that says, the other day I was watching my dog and just thinking how easily amused dogs are, because my dog was chasing its tail. And then I realized I was watching my dog chase its tail. Yes, I am that easily amused. I'm watching the dough spin. It reminds me, years ago, we got a new washer and dryer. My mom was living with us. We still lived over in Canton. And it had the glass top. So when you closed it, the dryer had the glass in the front, but the washer had the glass on the top. And at one point, my mom and Hugh and I, when the first load we put in, were all three standing and watching the washer work. I thought, that's funny. That was funny. That's when candid cameras still should have been around. But we're easily amused. We are. All right. I'm just, again, I want to just reiterate how much I'm enjoying this channel, enjoying doing it, and how much I'm enjoying keeping up with y'all through the comments. And I am excited about the live on Tuesdays, because I think that's just going to be wonderful for all of us. I need to make some room on the counter right here, because I'm getting ready to pour this out and give it just one or two little kneads by hand. And I don't need the flour until I'm turning them out to shape them. And this will not be that. These two go back in the fridge. How many of y'all have dogs in your kitchen floor that you have to step across? My oldest brother, and yes, Keith, I am talking to you. He's always hated animals in the house. And so when he comes to my house, he will eat. He will. I've got to give him that. But I know it's probably hard for him. I just ignore the dog hair. I'm sorry. I'm that person. Almost done, so I'm going to say we're done. Okay. It sure is stiff. Okay, and I know that this seems like it took a really long time. Mostly it did because I spent a lot of time talking. So really, when you're doing it yourself, it's very quick. Takes probably 15-20 minutes, and that includes the time that it's spinning in its little bowl. Oops, let me face you down. I keep forgetting to make sure you can see. But I'm just going to give it just a couple little hand kneads. And then I'm going to put it in this bowl and kind of mush it around and make sure that it gets all oiled on the top. And then I'm going to put my little lid on. And you don't have to have a lid like this. You can just lay a piece of or a clean dish towel over it. And so now see, there it is. It's in here with my really warm little pints of water. I'm going to close it up and set my timer for 60 minutes. And then I will be back with you in 60 minutes. See you in a bit. Okay, I had about 2 minutes left. I went ahead and got the dough out of the microwave. That's our first rise. And I turned my little pint-sized jars on for 2 minutes just to kind of reheat them. So, let me see, that's good enough. We're still pretty warm. Here we go. Because my bread will have to proof one more time. Oops, I held it over Hugh's eggs and it steamed up. There you go. You good? All right. Now, let me set y'all down right here. Make sure you can see what I'm doing. And the next part is just where I very, 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 very lightly I'm going to flour it. And then I'm going to cut this dough in half with my hands. It's usually a little bit stiffer than this. Today it's a little bit softer. It won't matter. The only thing I do is just kind of roll it. And you see how I'm pushing the sides in with my pinkies to kind of keep it in a little tight rolled up shape, because I don't want it to get real long. It won't fit my loaf pans. So can you see that? Alright. You grab a loaf pan and it just fits down in there kind of nicely. Put the fold on the bottom. And what happens when I'm rolling it is that it's pushing air pockets out, because I'm pushing it down pretty firmly as I go. And now my bread's never it's never beautiful, but it is yummy. So if you want beautiful bread as well as yummy, you can take just a little bit more time than I typically do. It's usually my goal just to get it done. While we were waiting on it to rise the first time, I fed the ducks and the geese, and Hugh fed the chickens and the peacocks, and I fed our dogs and Aaron's dogs, and Hugh fed the cats. I think we have everything fed. I hope, except for us. And Hugh is boiling eggs. What are we having for dinner, Hubie? You see that? He's boiling those eggs. He just got out of the chicken coop a few minutes ago. So he didn't hear me. Bless. We got to make that a priority to get him some hearing aids. And I've got a clean kitchen towel. Looks like it has a hole in it, but it does. We'll tuck the hole down in between and just lightly cover them with clean, dry kitchen towel. And I'm going to close it up for another 60 minutes. All right. Now, probably will eat supper while I'm waiting on that to rise, and I'll be back in a few minutes. But in the meantime, what you can see is that bread making doesn't take a lot of hands-on time. It just takes a lot of time that you need to be in the house with it. You need to be available for whatever the next step is. And so I was outside cleaning up where some mud had slid into my goose door, and with all this rain. And this morning I had to get a hammer and kind of tap it open. I didn't want to break the door or the gate, and so I knew I was going to have to, where it had frozen, so it had frozen closed. So I knew I was going to have to clean that up, and I took a rake down and left it down there earlier today. And then I got down there and got busy raking the mud away from the gate so that it wouldn't be frozen shut again in the morning. And as I'm coming back to the house, I thought, oh, I wonder if my bread has finished. I got close to the house. I told you, I said, has my timer gone off on my bread? And he said, no, you've got about 10 minutes. So that worked out nicely. But it is hard for me to make bread if I don't stay in the house, because often I get distracted by something. Lots of somethings. Little feathery, furry somethings. And, you know, sometimes just big boys and younger boys and old boys, and just needing help. Hold this for just a minute. Oh well. All right. I will be back in about 58 minutes. I'll see you then. Okay. This is it. We're ready to take it out of the final proof and put it in a 350 degree oven for 40 minutes. I use my little corner oven. I rarely, seriously, rarely ever use the big oven any longer. I like this thing a lot. The only thing I don't like this particular model, these arms or these doors, sometimes they don't want to stay open like they should. So if we ever need to replace it, I will get one that does not have the double doors like that. All right, there they go. I'm going to close it up, and I'm going to set my timer for 40 minutes. Now in this little oven, oops, went too far. In this little oven, it browns way too quickly. So I keep a piece of tin foil, and I use that same piece several times. Not because I'm just frugal, but also because I just don't like to waste natural resources. So usually about 10 minutes in, I'll put my little piece of tin foil over top to keep them from browning too much. And I even set a timer to remind myself to do that. So my timer is going to be set for 10 minutes, and I'll sit in there in the living room while watching the news, and I'll wonder, what's the timer for? But I'll eventually remember, because I'll smell the bread baking, and oh, it smells good in here, y'all, already. And just now put it in the oven. But when it's in the proof box, you start smelling that wonderful yeasty smell. And even though we are walking back toward better health, and even though we are going to definitely be working to lower our carbs, especially, that's important for diabetics, and Hugh is diabetic. We're not going to do away with bread and things like that. We actually tried the keto diet several years back, and I really have nothing bad to say about it. You and I just didn't enjoy that life. And for those that can do it, I'm certain that there's some wonderful health benefits. But we're just more into just eating the foods that we normally eat, and just cutting back on those things that aren't so healthy for us. My biggie is sugar. So that's one of the things that I'm committed to working on. You can see that went to the little produce stand this week, and yeah, brought home lots of fruit to kind of get us moving in the right direction. I know that fruit's high in carbohydrates also, and that but there is some nutrition in them, not as much as there is in fruits and vegetables that are grown organically and on land, in soil that's been well maintained and not overly abused. But anyway, we'll work toward that, because I totally intend. We do have a little fruit orchard over at Chelsea's house. We had planted fruit trees over there, and Jared had planted some over there a number of years back. So we do have apples and peaches, and let me see, I think there's a cherry tree. I can't remember. But anyway, pear. There's a pear tree over there. And I have elderberries growing. And I did have some blueberries, but those ended up getting killed. So I intend to replant blueberries, and I intend to plant grapes and strawberries and all those types of yummy fruits. So there'll be a lot of fruit grown on this property, and they'll go in the freezer for wintertime use, and maybe some of them will be dried. But anyway, we're gonna eat fruits that are, you know, healthy, and just kind of cut back on the carbs and the sugar end of things. All right, and I'm looking to see if my bread is beginning to brown a little bit. Not quite enough yet to put my little tinfoil on. So, but while I'm waiting on that to happen, I do want to, I wrote this recipe out, and I'm not sure if y'all can actually, I'm certain that there's a way to stop your screen. So let me just very slowly scroll down here, and you can stop it and write this down. When Aaron gets home, I will try to make him take time to show me how to put it in the show notes. And if he does that, then it'll be at the top in the show notes, whatever that means. And hopefully all of this makes sense. And yes, I don't know how to spell peace. But it is divide dough and roll each piece on lightly floured surface. Okay. I think you can figure it out. All right, girls. So now I'm going to turn it off again, and I'll be back in about 40 minutes, and we'll pull it out of the oven and see what it looks like. See you soon. Okay, timer just went off, so it's time to pull it out of the oven. And I hear Huey. He always knows when the bread is done. See, there he goes.
And I'm gonna have some warm bread with a load of butter.
Yes, he always does.
I do.
All right. You can turn it down on my pathetic looking board.
Isn't that pretty?
It's a little warm, isn't it, baby?
Huh?
It's a little warm, isn't it?
No. It ain't bad.
Yeah, he's burning his fingers. It ain't bad.
As long as I don't touch your pan, it's good.
Oops, I'm shaking you guys all over the place, I know.
I've waited for this all day.
It smells good in here. Y'all ought to be here and helping us eat a bite of bread.
It takes her all day to do it, but most of the time spent waiting for it to rise.
That's the biggie with bread. It's just kind of a waiting for it to, a lot of waiting time. And if he'd wait until it cools down a little bit, he wouldn't smash it. But he always smashes it, so.
You gotta have a hot heel.
Here's butter, Hubie.
I gotta have me a saucer.
Okay. Yeah, because he's gonna.
Yeah, that's where I cut it, and it's too hot. There ain't nothing wrong with the bread.
All right, girls and guys, if you try it out, let me know how it works for you. he's having a hard time right there with that butter. And nothing like
all thumbs.
Nothing like a quarter of a stick of butter on one slice of bread.
That's what you gotta have.
He has always said, if I can't have it the way I want it, I'm not going to have it at
That's
all.
exactly right. You can't eat it like you want it, don't eat it.
That's it. All right. Let's see what the
Perfect as always.
All right, girls and guys. Thank you for spending this. This is going to be a long video with me. And I hope you try this bread and let me know what you think. And I will see you. Today will be, okay, this will be Monday. This will be posted on Monday. So I'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock for the live on Tuesday. All right. Be blessed, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.